A perfect life shattered. The Miami sunset painted the sky in shades of coral and gold as Elena Martinez stood on the balcony of her downtown office, watching the city come alive with evening lights. At 28, she had everything she'd ever dreamed of: a thriving event planning business called Enchanted Moments, a beautiful apartment overlooking Biscayne Bay, and Daniel Brooks, the man she'd loved for 5 years. Tonight was supposed to be the beginning of forever. Tonight, Daniel was going to propose at their engagement party. "Elena, the caterers just arrived." Sophia Chen's voice rang through the office. Sophia wasn't just Elena's business partner, she was her best friend since college, the sister she never had. Together, they'd built Enchanted Moments from nothing into Miami's most sought-after luxury event planning company. Elena turned from the balcony, her emerald dress flowing around her like water. Perfect timing. Is everything set at the venue? Sophia's smile seemed tight, almost forced. Everything's perfect. You deserve this night, Elena. You really do. Something flickered in Sophia's eyes. Was it guilt? But before Elena could analyze it, her phone buzzed. A text from Daniel: "Can't wait to see you tonight. We need to talk. It's important." Elena's heart soared. This was it. The moment she'd been waiting for. The discovery. 2 hours before the party, Elena realized she'd left her grandmother's pearl earrings at Daniel's apartment. They were supposed to be her something old for the engagement photos. Daniel was already at the venue helping with setup, so she used her spare key to let herself in. The apartment was quiet, bathed in the golden light of late afternoon. Elena headed straight for the bedroom, where she'd left the earrings on the nightstand. But as she entered, something caught her eye. Daniel's laptop was open on the bed, screen glowing. "We need to end this before tonight." Elena's hands trembled as she sat on the bed. The email was from Sophia to Daniel, sent just hours ago. "Daniel, I can't keep pretending anymore. What we have is real. I know tonight is supposed to be about you and Elena, but my heart breaks every time I see you two together. We need to tell her the truth. I love you, and I know you love me too. We've been hiding for 6 months, and it's killing me." 6 months. The words echoed in Elena's mind like thunder. 6 months of betrayal. 6 months of lies. Her best friend. Her partner. The person she trusted with everything. Elena's vision blurred with tears, but she kept reading. There were dozens of emails, hundreds of text messages. Secret meetings during client consultations. Intimate moments stolen while Elena worked late to build their company. Weekend getaways disguised as business trips. And then she found the final piece that shattered her completely: a message from Daniel to Sophia from last week. "I'm going through with the engagement tonight because backing out now would look bad for my career. Elena's connected to every major client in Miami. But after a few months, we'll tell her I've fallen out of love. Then you and I can finally be together openly. Trust me, this is the smart play." The smart play. That's all she was. A business strategy. The public humiliation. Elena arrived at the party with her head held high, grandmother's pearls gleaming at her ears, and a smile frozen on her face. The venue, an elegant rooftop garden she'd designed herself, was packed with Miami's elite. Business contacts, friends, family members, all gathered to celebrate what they thought would be her happiness. Daniel spotted her immediately, walking over with a champagne flute and that charming smile she'd once loved. "There's my beautiful girl. We need to talk before you propose?" Elena's voice was steady, cold as ice. "Yes, Daniel, let's talk." Something in her tone made him pause. Around them, conversations continued, but Elena could see Sophia watching from across the room, her face pale with worry. Elena took the microphone from the DJ booth. "Everyone, can I have your attention please?" The crowd fell silent. Daniel reached for her arm. "Elena, what are you doing?" She pulled away. "I'm thanking everyone for coming tonight to celebrate what was supposed to be my engagement. But there's been a change of plans. Confused murmurs rippled through the crowd. Elena's mother stood near the front, her face concerned. You see, I discovered something interesting today. I learned that for the past 6 months, my boyfriend has been having an affair with my business partner and best friend. Gasps erupted. Sophia dropped her wine glass, the sound of shattering crystal cutting through the shocked silence. Daniel's face went from confusion to horror to anger in seconds. That's enough, Elena, he hissed, trying to take the microphone. But Elena stepped back, her voice growing stronger. No, Daniel. You wanted to do this tonight? Let's do this. Tell everyone how you plan to go through with the engagement for appearances. How I was just the smart play for your career. How you and Sophia laughed at me while I worked myself to exhaustion building a business you were both destroying from the inside. Elena, please, Sophia's voice cracked across the room. Let me explain. Explain what? Elena's laugh was bitter. Explain how you betrayed me every single day? How you used our friendship as a cover while you slept with the man I loved? Daniel's mask finally dropped. His face twisted with something ugly, not regret, but annoyance at being caught. You want the truth, Elena? Fine. Yes, I love Sophia. Yes, we've been together for months. And you know what? I'm tired of pretending. You're so focused on your precious business that you forgot to be interesting. Sophia actually pays attention to me. The words hit like physical blows, but Elena refused to crumble. Not here. Not in front of everyone. Then you're free to be with her, Elena said quietly. Both of you. Congratulations on finding each other. I hope you're very happy together. She set down the microphone and walked through the silent crowd, head high, refusing to let them see her break. Only when she reached her car, when she was finally alone, did she allow the tears to fall. The aftermath. The next 2 weeks were a nightmare Elena wouldn't wish on anyone. The story spread through Miami social circles like wildfire. Did you hear about Elena Martinez? Her own best friend and boyfriend. How humiliating. But the gossip was the least of her problems. Sophia, as co-owner of Enchanted Moments, held 50% of the company. And she wasn't going quietly. With Daniel's help, he was a corporate lawyer, Sophia began a legal campaign to force Elena out of her own company. She's claiming you created a hostile work environment, Elena's lawyer explained over the phone. She's got 3 employees willing to testify that you've been difficult to work with. Those employees are her friends. This is ridiculous. Maybe so, but it's going to be expensive to fight. And in the meantime, clients are canceling. The drama is bad for business. Elena watched her company crumble. Clients who'd been loyal for years suddenly couldn't return her calls. Suppliers demanded payment upfront. Her reputation, built over 5 years of impeccable work, was destroyed in days. The final blow came when Sophia bought out Elena's share of Enchanted Moments at a fraction of its worth. Elena could have fought it, but she was exhausted, broke, and broken. She signed the papers and walked away from everything she'd built. Her apartment was next. She couldn't afford the rent without her business income. Her friends, mutual friends with Sophia and Daniel, took sides, and most chose them. After all, they were still together, still successful, still part of Miami's social fabric. Elena was just the scorned woman, the one who'd caused a scene. 1 month after the party, Elena stood in an empty apartment with 2 suitcases and a bank account that wouldn't last 3 months. She was 28, alone, unemployed, and infamous for all the wrong reasons. But as she looked at herself in the mirror, dark circles under her eyes, weight lost from stress, sadness etched into every feature, something shifted inside her. The sadness began to harden into something else. Something stronger. The vow. Elena's phone rang. It was her mother. Mija, come home to Texas. Start over here. Forget Miami, forget those terrible people. But Elena found herself saying, "No, Mama. I'm not running away." "Then what will you do?" Elena stared at her reflection, and for the first time in weeks, she saw a spark of the woman she used to be. But not quite the same. This woman was harder. Smarter. Done with being the victim. "I'm going to rebuild," Elena said slowly, the plan forming as she spoke. "I'm going to become so successful that they'll regret every lie, every betrayal, every moment they thought I was weak enough to destroy." "Elena, revenge won't make you happy." "This isn't about revenge, Mama. This is about justice. This is about showing them, and myself, that I'm not someone who can be broken and discarded." After hanging up, Elena sat down with her laptop and began researching. New York City. The biggest market for luxury events in the country. If she could make it there, she could make it anywhere. And she could make it in a way that would put enchanted moments to shame. But she needed capital. She needed connections. She needed a miracle. 3 days later, scrolling through business networking sites, Elena found a post that made her pause: "Angel investor seeking innovative event planning ventures. Interested in disrupting the luxury market. Significant capital available for the right vision." The investor's name was Alexander Stone. Elena had never heard of him, but a quick search revealed he was a billionaire who'd made his fortune in tech before diversifying into hospitality and entertainment. He was 35, notoriously private, and known for taking risks on people others wouldn't touch. With nothing left to lose, Elena crafted the best business proposal of her life. She detailed her vision for a new kind of luxury event company, one that combined cutting-edge technology with old-world elegance. Personalized experiences using AI and data analytics. Immersive environments that would make every event unforgettable. And most importantly, she was honest. She told him about her failure. About the betrayal. About being blacklisted in Miami. She figured if he was going to reject her, better to know now. She hit send at 2 a.m., then fell into bed, exhausted. The response came at 8 a.m., "Interesting. Let's meet. Tomorrow, New York City. I'll send a car." Elena stared at the email, her heart pounding. This was it. Her one chance. She booked a one-way flight to New York with money she didn't really have. As the plane lifted off from Miami, Elena looked down at the city that had broken her heart and whispered a promise to herself. "I will rise again. And when I do, they'll remember my name." Part 2, The Transformation, 2,000 words. Rising from ashes. The black town car deposited Elena in front of a sleek glass building in Manhattan's financial district. She'd spent her last dollars on a designer suit from a consignment shop, and her hair was pulled back in a professional bun. She looked confident, powerful, successful, everything she didn't feel inside. The receptionist led her to the top floor, where floor-to-ceiling windows offered a breathtaking view of the city. And standing with his back to her, looking out at New York, was Alexander Stone. When he turned, Elena's breath caught. He was younger than she'd expected, with dark hair touched with silver at the temples, sharp cheekbones, and eyes that seemed to see right through her careful facade. He wore a perfectly tailored black suit and an expression of intense focus. "Ms. Martinez." His voice was deep, controlled. "Thank you for coming. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Stone. Please, call me Alexander." He gestured to a chair. "I read your proposal 3 times. It's brilliant. Ambitious. Exactly the kind of innovation the luxury event industry needs." Elena tried to hide her surprise. "Thank you. But I'm not investing in your business plan." He cut her off, his gaze unwavering. "I'm investing in you. Your resilience. Your honesty about failure. Most people in your position would have hidden the Miami situation. You led with it. That takes courage." "Or desperation," Elena said with a bitter smile. "Sometimes they're the same thing." Alexander moved to his desk, pulling out a folder. I'm prepared to invest $5 million in your new venture. You'll have full creative control, but I want quarterly reports and a seat on your advisory board. $5 million. Elena's mind reeled. That's incredibly generous, but I have to ask, why me? You don't know me. For all you know, the Miami disaster was my fault. Alexander's expression darkened slightly. I know more than you think. I make it my business to know everything before I invest. I know that Sophia Chen embezzled $75,000 from Enchanted Moments over the past year. I know that Daniel Brooks has done this before, his last relationship ended the same way. And I know that you were the real talent behind that company. Sophia's events after you left? Already declining in quality. Elena sat back, stunned. How did you find all that out? I have resources. He slid the folder across the desk. This is a contract. Take it to a lawyer, I'll pay the fees. Read every word. If you agree, sign it and we start building your empire tomorrow. Why are you doing this? Elena whispered. Nobody helps someone like this without a reason. Alexander was quiet for a long moment. His jaw tightening. Let's just say I understand what it's like to be betrayed by people you trusted. And I believe in giving talented people a second chance. There was pain in his eyes, old and deep. Elena recognized it because she saw the same thing in her own mirror every morning. I'll read the contract, she said. And if everything checks out, you have a deal. Alexander smiled, and it transformed his face from intimidating to almost warm. I thought you might say that. There's one more thing. He pulled out a set of keys. That apartment building across the street? I own the penthouse. It's yours for the next year, rent-free, while you get established. I can't accept. Yes, you can. Consider it part of the investment. I need you focused on building the business, not worrying about where you'll sleep. His tone left no room for argument. Elena took the keys, her hands trembling slightly. For the first time in weeks, she felt something that had been dead inside her stirring back to life. Hope. Meeting Alexander Stone. Over the next 3 months, Elena threw herself into building her new company. She called it Lumiere Events, French for light, because she was emerging from darkness. The name felt right. Alexander was true to his word. He provided not just money but connections, introductions to hotel chains, celebrity clients, vendors who wouldn't have given her the time of day otherwise. But he never took credit. He worked behind the scenes, letting Elena shine. They met weekly to discuss strategy, and Elena found herself looking forward to those meetings more than she should. Alexander was brilliant, insightful, and surprisingly funny when he let his guard down. But there was always a wall between them, a careful distance he maintained. One evening, after a particularly successful meeting where they'd landed a major client, Alexander surprised her. Would you like to get dinner? Celebrate properly? Elena hesitated. This felt like crossing a line from business to personal. But she was curious about the man behind the investment. I'd like that. They went to a small Italian restaurant in Brooklyn, far from Manhattan's business scene. Over pasta and wine, Alexander began to open up. You asked why I helped you, he said, swirling his wine glass. The truth is, 5 years ago, I was engaged to a woman named Victoria. We'd been together for 3 years. I was building my company, working 18-hour days, completely devoted to making our future secure. Elena felt her stomach tighten. She knew where this was going. My business partner, James, my best friend since college, was helping Victoria plan the wedding. Or so I thought. Alexander's voice went flat. Turns out, they were planning a future together. They cleaned out $3 million from the company and disappeared to the Cayman Islands. By the time I figured out what happened, they were married and untouchable. Alexander, I'm so sorry. The betrayal almost destroyed me. But worse than that, Victoria and James started spreading rumors that I was the one embezzling. That I was unstable, paranoid. Some people believed them. He looked directly at Elena. So when I read about what happened to you, I saw myself. And I thought, maybe I could help someone else rise from those ashes. Elena reached across the table, covering his hand with hers. Thank you. For everything. You saved my life. No, Alexander said softly, his fingers curling around hers. You saved yourself. I just gave you the tools. The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither was quite ready to name. Then Alexander pulled back, the professional mask sliding into place again. We should get back to business, he said. I have some ideas for your spring portfolio. But Elena had seen the real Alexander Stone, the wounded man behind the billionaire facade. And she knew, with a strange certainty, that their connection was about to become much more complicated. The plan. The plan takes shape. 4 months into building Lumiere Events, Elena's phone rang with a number that made her heart stop. A Miami area code. Elena Martinez? The voice was unfamiliar. This is Jennifer Walsh from Elite Magazine. We're doing a feature on innovative event planners, and your name came up. We'd love to include you. That's very flattering, but I'm based in New York now. Actually, we know. That's what makes it interesting. You left Miami after that incident with Enchanted Moments, and now you're making waves in New York. We think it's a great comeback story. Elena's mind raced. A feature in Elite Magazine would be huge for business. But it would also put her back on Miami's radar. Back on Sophia and Daniel's radar. After she hung up, she called Alexander. Elite Magazine wants to feature me. It's a great opportunity, but it means Sophia and Daniel will see it, Alexander finished. Good. Good? Elena, you've spent 4 months building something incredible. Don't you think it's time they knew what you've become? Elena thought about it. She'd been so focused on survival, on building Lumiere, that she hadn't thought about the revenge part. But Alexander was right. Sophia and Daniel had tried to bury her. They deserved to know she'd risen. You're right, she said slowly. Let them see. Let them wonder. The Elite Magazine feature came out 2 weeks later. The article was glowing, Elena Martinez, from Miami scandal to Manhattan success. They photographed her in her office, at events she'd planned, looking powerful and happy. The article mentioned the challenging end to her partnership with Enchanted Moments but focused mostly on her impressive comeback. The reaction was immediate. Elena's inbox flooded with messages from old contacts in Miami. Some were congratulatory. Others were thinly veiled attempts to get back into her good graces now that she was successful again. But the message that made Elena's blood run cold came from an unknown number. Congratulations on your success. We should talk. Sophia. Elena stared at the text, rage bubbling up. The audacity. The sheer arrogance. She forwarded it to Alexander without comment. His response came seconds later, don't respond. Let her sweat. But that night, as Elena lay in bed in her penthouse apartment, she couldn't stop thinking about it. Sophia wanted something. And whatever it was, Elena had the power to say no. The next morning, Alexander called her into an unexpected meeting. When she arrived at his office, he had a strange expression, almost excited, but dark. I've been doing some research, he said. Enchanted Moments is in trouble. Their numbers have dropped 40% since you left. Clients are complaining about lack of creativity. And there are rumors of serious financial problems. Elena felt a surge of satisfaction. They're getting what they deserve. Maybe. Or maybe. Alexander leaned forward, we can help them fail faster. What do you mean? I mean, we can enter the Miami market. Compete with them directly. With our resources and your talent, we could take every major client they have left. We could destroy enchanted moments completely. Elena's pulse quickened. This was it. The revenge she'd dreamed about in her darkest moments. But looking at Alexander's intense expression, she realized something. This isn't just about helping me, is it? She asked quietly. You want revenge too? Against Victoria and James? Alexander's face went carefully blank. Victoria moved back to Miami last year. She opened a boutique hotel with James. They're doing well. Too well. Understanding dawned. And if I compete with enchanted moments in Miami, I'll be in the same market as Victoria's hotel. It's a bonus, Alexander said. But the main reason is to show Sophia and Daniel what they lost. To take back what they tried to steal from you, your reputation, your career, your dignity. Elena stood, pacing to the windows. The old Elena, the one before the betrayal, would have said no. Would have taken the high road. But the new Elena, forged in pain and betrayal, understood something crucial. Sometimes justice and revenge were the same thing. Let's do it, she said. Let's go back to Miami and show them all what we've become. Alexander's smile was sharp as a blade. Then we start planning tomorrow. Welcome to the game, Elena. I promise you, we're going to win. Building the empire. The next 6 months were a whirlwind. Elena and Alexander worked 18-hour days, building Lumiere events into something extraordinary. They didn't just plan events, they created experiences that left guests breathless. For a tech CEO's wedding, Elena designed an event where holographic displays told the couple's love story while guests dined under a ceiling that mimicked the night sky on the date they met. The photos went viral. For a charity gala, she created an immersive rainforest experience, complete with live butterflies and projection mapping that made the ballroom disappear into a jungle canopy. The event raised $3 million and got featured on Good Morning America. But Elena's personal masterpiece was the New Year's Eve celebration for a Fortune 500 company. She transformed an entire warehouse into different decades, the roaring 20s, the groovy 60s, the electric 80s, with each room offering period-appropriate food, music, and entertainment. Guests could time travel through the night. With each success, Elena felt herself growing stronger. The wounded woman who'd left Miami was gone, replaced by someone sharper, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous to her enemies. And through it all, Alexander was there. Not just as an investor, but as a partner. They developed a rhythm, a way of working together that felt almost telepathic. He understood her creative vision. She understood his business instincts. But there was more than that. Late nights in the office turned into conversations about life. Loss, dreams. Shared takeout turned into cooking together in one of their apartments. Professional touches, a hand on the shoulder, a brush of fingers while reviewing documents, began to linger. We should be careful, Alexander said one night, pulling back after a moment that had felt dangerously close to a kiss. Business and personal don't mix well. Since when do you follow rules? Elena challenged, her heart racing. Since I started caring what happens to you. His voice was rough. I won't be another person who hurts you, Elena. But he was already in too deep. They both were. The turning point came when Lumiere Events was named one of the top 10 innovative event companies in America. The announcement came with an invitation to speak at the National Event Planning Conference, which was being held in Miami. It's time, Elena said, looking at the invitation. Time to go home. The first move. Elena and Alexander landed in Miami on a Tuesday afternoon. The familiar heat hit her like a physical force, bringing back memories, both painful and beautiful. But she wasn't the same woman who'd left the city 8 months ago. She stepped off the plane in a custom Armani suit, diamond earrings catching the light, every inch the successful entrepreneur. Alexander walked beside her, a powerful presence that made people stop and stare. They checked into the Lux Grand, the most expensive hotel in Miami. From their suites, you could see Biscayne Bay, the water sparkling in the afternoon sun. Nervous? Alexander asked as they stood on her balcony. Excited, Elena corrected. They think I crawled away to hide. They're about to learn the truth. The conference opened that evening with a welcome reception. Elena spent an hour getting ready, choosing a crimson dress that made her look like fire itself. When she walked into the ballroom, conversations actually stopped. She saw recognition flash across faces, event planners she'd worked with, vendors who'd dropped her after the scandal, even a few old clients. But now their expressions weren't pity. They were awe. And then she saw them. Sophia and Daniel, across the room. Sophia had gotten thinner, and there were new stress lines around her eyes. Daniel looked older, tired. They were talking to a couple who appeared to be potential clients, but Sophia's smile looked forced. When Sophia spotted Elena, the blood drained from her face. She grabbed Daniel's arm, whispering urgently. He turned, and for a moment, their eyes met across the crowded room. Elena raised her champagne glass in a mock toast. Then she turned her back on them and walked away. That felt good, didn't it? Alexander murmured in her ear. Better than I imagined. Over the next hour, Elena worked the room like the professional she was. She reconnected with old contacts, many of whom apologized for believing the rumors. She made new connections with vendors and clients who'd only heard about her recent successes. And she made sure everyone knew she was back. The real moment came when the conference organizer, Margaret Chen, approached with a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce someone special. Many of you know her from her work in Miami, and now she's making waves in New York. Please welcome Elena Martinez, founder of Lumiere Events. The applause was thunderous. Elena stepped up to the microphone, her heart steady, her voice strong. Thank you all so much. It's incredible to be back in Miami. This city made me who I am, both the good and the difficult parts. I learned here that success isn't about never falling down. It's about how you rise after you fall. And trust me, I've risen. She paused, letting her gaze sweep the room. It landed briefly on Sophia and Daniel, both frozen near the exit. Some of you might remember that I left Miami under challenging circumstances. There was a scandal, rumors, a very public betrayal. At the time, I thought my career was over. I thought I'd lost everything.